In a nation where gender equality is not the norm, an all-female combat unit is fighting against ISIS in northern Iraq. And these women are seeking revenge for all of the women who have been raped, beaten, and executed by the terrorist group. Now, this all started in 2014 when the Islamic State invaded the northern Iraqi town of Sinjar. And there were a few women in this particular town that decided to fight back. They weren't down with all of that type of behavior. And so they decided to come together, and they couldn't accept the injustice. And this is a group that's comprised of Yazidi and Kurdish women from Iraq and neighboring Syria. And this is as a result of the hundreds of Yazidi women who have been captured and who have been tortured by, these jihadist militants who believe that they're devil worshippers and who believe that they must convert to Islam or die. Sure. So these women are they're saying that they want to inspire men who they're fighting against. But it's also scary to some of these extremists because, they're under this belief that if they're killed by a woman, they might not go to heaven.
Right, right. So the emancipation there is obviously the point, and that's why it's newsworthy, is because of not the fact that they're rebel forces, but the fact that these are groups or platoons, if you will, of made up of exclusively females, who within a society where typically the emancipation issue is they don't quite have the same level of freedoms and choices that women in this country would experience and enjoy.
Yeah, and that is why this is, absolutely, you're right, that's to that point, that is why this is newsworthy, is because this is totally going against the grain, and this is going against societally normative behavior in Iraq, and that is the piece that makes this very, very, very interesting, and the fact that they are just kind of going for it, fighting ISIS and even taking, taking prisoners and knocking people out.
So what are we talking about in terms of numbers? They got there's one group called the Yazidi, the Sun Ladies, right? And they're sort of about 120, 130 strong. What are the kind of numbers that we have in some of these groups?
This particular piece that we're talking about today, this is a 30-woman unit that is kind of coming onto the scene. There was another piece in preparing for today that I looked at. There was 3 women, and they were said to have taken down something like an estimated 10 members of ISIS. So there's a lot of different, it seems, pods of these female groups that are happening and moving around.
And the parallels being brought to was like they're the Inglourious Bastards of. Like, after the Tarantino film, these are those women who are, exacting revenge for all of the ills that have been brought upon them by the marauding militants in the region that have been affected directly by this crisis and in the conflict zone.
Yeah, and so I think sometimes you got to go against the grain, and this makes me think about Marley. You got to get up, stand up, and not give up that fight.